Stop skipping meals, stop skipping sleep, and stop sitting on all of your rest days. If you want to truly allow your body to recover so that you can come back stronger and healthier, you need a proper recovery plan. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be a priority. And if you choose to ignore recovery, then you risk overtraining. Whether you are deadlifting 400 pounds, doing yoga classes a couple times a week, going for hour-long walks every day, your body needs recovery from those things that you are doing. Just because you are not an athlete does not mean that you do not need a recovery plan. Everyone should have a recovery plan, and your body doesn't say, that's not a dumbbell in your hand, so that doesn't count as a workout. That's not how your body sees it. Your body responds to the stress that you put on it. So movement places stress and demand on that body, and in return, your body needs to recover from that stress and demand. Although this is healthy stress, it is still something that your body needs to recover from. If your performance is stalling, if your progress is stalling, and you're also noticing that things like your resting heart rate are increasing rather than decreasing, these are all signs that you might not be fully recovered. So a lack of recovery and overtraining starts with phase one, and phase one is actually healthy stress. And phase one is where we want to ideally remain the entire time. We really don't want to reach phase two or phase three. Now, overreaching is where you leave this healthy stress state. You might have prolonged muscle soreness. So let's say every time you train, you're feeling really sore. You shouldn't be. That's a really big sign of poor recovery. You might feel DOMS, for example, after a new program, but if you're feeling sore literally every time you train, that's not a good sign. Some other signs though of entering this phase are muscle atrophy occurring alongside higher intensity training. Another one is mental and physical fatigue. You will physically and mentally just feel exhausted all of the time, and that also will come alongside depression and also poor sleep. And this is a signal that a lot of doctors will use as overtraining, and that's resting heart rate. Let's say you normally sit at 60, but after a month you're noticing, oh, my resting heart rate is going up to 70 and now it's sitting at 70. So the thing is, our body is built with systems to help you recover. So you can sit in overreaching this phase for quite some time before your body gets to phase three. If you are in phase two, you have time to correct it. Don't sit in phase two for too long. It's not good to treat your body unwell. So we'll talk about how you can make those corrections. Phase three is overtraining syndrome. When you've ignored the symptoms of overtraining for too long, your body will start to seriously break down. The harder you try to push without giving your body recovery, the more it's going to backfire, because if you are not giving your body the recovery it needs, it's just going to break your body down that much faster to try to find a way to protect itself. It can take months, years to recover from this. In order to prevent these injuries from happening and your body from shutting down, literally, we want to provide your body a recovery plan. So let's get into what a recovery plan should look like. And the recovery plan is actually really simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. This is really important for you to remain healthy, strong, and continue seeing progress. The key to an optimal recovery plan includes nutrition, sleep, active recovery, and also enough rest between sessions. Those are the four most important things when it comes to recovery. So we'll first start with the easiest one, and that is making sure that you have enough rest between sessions. The first thing that we can look at is frequency, and we can also look at intensity. Those two factors play a role in how much recovery you're going to need from session to session. If you are doing lower intensity movements, your body is going to take less than 24 hours to recover. If you're working at a more moderate level of intensity, your body usually will take 24 to 48 hours to recover, and with higher intensity levels, your body will take 48 to 72 hours to recover. Try not to overthink it too much. Heavy squats and deadlifts are going to take longer to recover from than bicep curls. Just know that the harder it is, the longer it's going to take to recover. The easier it is, the quicker it is going to take you to recover. Now, if you are an athlete, you do need to take your recovery a little bit more seriously and consider things like a training deload. You will see deloads with powerlifters, with marathon runners. You will see deloads with athletes. It's also why athletes have seasons of training, because you can't be all on 100% year round. That will destroy your body and it will lead to overtraining syndrome. But what happens is when you are training at these higher level intensities, it has an impact on your central nervous system. Your CNS is basically your brain and your spinal cord, and you have proprioception, and that helps with things like balance. It helps with our strength. It helps with everything. And proprioception, your central nervous system, is so incredibly important for sports, because not only do you need to be obviously strong enough, you need to be powerful enough. You have to make quick, fast movements and turns. And if your recovery isn't there, you're just putting yourself at a high risk for no reason. So that's why athletes really do tend to talk about this, but it is a conversation for everyone. If you're an athlete or someone who is just a hobby lifter who's lifting really heavy in the gym, you can be really damn strong and not consider yourself an athlete and still need to deload. Deloading is important when you're lifting heavy, lifting with higher intensities more frequently. Usually you're gonna have a deload every 4 to 8 weeks. Some people take deloads every 12 weeks. Some people need them more, some people need them less. And honestly, even if you're not working at higher intensities, taking deloads can also be a nice little mental break. Nutrition is incredibly important for recovery, because everything that we eat and drink to some capacity has an impact on our recovery. When it comes to nutrition, we are going to break this up into 3 sections: macros, hydration, and alcohol. Even though alcohol is actually a macro, we're gonna put it in its own separate category. Macros. Every single macronutrient is important. We have protein, which plays an incredible role for recovery. A lot of us already know this. It repairs your muscle after training. We need this muscle to repair for the next time we train. If it doesn't repair, this is when you can start to see atrophy or just stalls in progress, is another way you can look at that. Next one is carbs. A lot of people don't really talk as much about carbs helping with recovery, but it is so important for recovery, because carbs get stored in our muscles, and when we lift, those carbs get used up. When we eat carbs, they get refilled into the muscles. If we don't have those carbs refilled into the muscles, then we're not gonna have as much energy in those muscles to execute whatever movement. Now, fats do not have a direct role in our recovery, but the reason that they are also important is because fats carry fat-soluble vitamins. I can't talk. So that's like vitamin A, vitamin K. Now those vitamins are important for our recovery. So without those fats, they won't be transported throughout our body. The point is that you need to have balance and not neglecting them and not avoiding them throughout your day. I know it is really damn hard when we are in this world of stop eating, I need to be skinny, we want you to be healthy. Please remember to eat. It is so important for your recovery, because it does end up in this cycle of feeling like shit and not feeling recovered, and then wondering why, you know, and that's why. That's a huge reason why. So let's move on to water and hydration. Water and hydration are so important. Without water, without hydration, all of the nutrients do not get transported to any of our bodies. So it is so crucial that we have water. Even if you're not doing a super intense workout where you're sweating a ton and losing a lot of water, your body really relies on water for your health and your longevity. It removes toxins from your body. So after you work out, there's also toxins. It flushes out the toxins and it helps bring in other healthy nutrients. Don't skip out on your water. Seriously, take a sip, take another sip. Aim to get at least 8 cups of water per day, but honestly, it really is so independent. That's just the standard. If you are training at higher intensities, drink more water. Let's move on to the last one, which is alcohol intake. Now, alcohol is technically a macro, but I am not putting it with that category, because alcohol actually has a negative impact on our recovery, and it has a negative impact for multiple reasons. First of all, when you drink alcohol, it actually interferes with protein synthesis, which means it has an interference with how much protein our body actually takes in. So let's say you get your 130 grams of protein in and you're like, hell yeah, baby, let's go drink a bottle of wine now. If you hit your protein goal, but you go out and drink, some of that is going to impact your recovery. One reason is the protein synthesis, but in addition to that, it also impacts your sleep, which is a whole other section of recovery. In the most optimal recovery plan, ideally, you do not drink alcohol at all. I know that a lot of people are still going to want to drink, so what I would recommend is I would not drink right after training, and I would consider protein synthesis, maybe having a little bit more protein on those days. So there are things that you can do to improve your nutrition for recovery. If your recovery is poor due to nutrition, some things that you can do are proper meal planning. You can take supplements like creatine, you can take supplements like protein powder. You can even have electrolytes if you are training with higher intensities. Vitamin D, going for walks and being in the sun is actually seen to be very beneficial, especially for vegan athletes or anyone low in vitamin D. Vitamin D helps with recovery, and a fun way you can do that is go for walks and do it in the sun. And you'll get vitamin D and you'll get more recovery from walking. Sleep is really damn important for our well-being. Sleep is not for the weak. Sleep literally makes us stronger. Sleep is oftentimes where a lot of those nutrients are transported. It's where the biggest repairs happen because our body is in a rested state. But the key here is it's not just sleep, it's deep sleep that's the most important. It's that deep sleep where our body is actually recovering. So if you're someone who's getting shorter bouts of sleep, like maybe 4 hours of sleep and then maybe like a 4-hour nap later, I say this because I really struggled with sleep. When I struggled with my mental health, sleep what was and still can be a real struggle for me. Sleep is so crucial, and I know a lot of people don't take it as seriously as they need to. The goal is to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Some people might need more. There's a lot of talk that women, especially during certain times of the cycle, we need more sleep and more recovery. So if you are not getting optimal sleep, if you feel like sleep is an issue, try to find things that work really well for you as a sleep routine. Some things that you can do to help with your sleep are probably the basics of what you've already heard, like dimming your lights, putting your phone away 30 minutes to 60 minutes before bed, taking a hot bath, anything to help your body just start to relax. If you need to, you can take melatonin. What I needed to do personally for myself when I was really going through it was get on medication for it. The fourth piece to the puzzle is active recovery. Active recovery can look like a lot of things. It mostly includes light activity that gets blood flowing through the muscles. This is important because that sends nutrients through those muscles continuously. If you're, for example, sitting all day, there's actually not much blood just rushing through the glutes. When you have blood running through that muscle, it constantly sends nutrients to those muscles, and it just helps keep your full body healthy. So things that do this include walking, stretching, yoga, foam rolling, massage guns. You can go to massage appointments. Having a massage gun is super convenient. It can also help not only obviously send blood to those muscles, but it helps to break up those tight tissues. This is a personal staple right now in our recovery plan. I'm not kidding you. Has been used every single day. So choose some things that can work as active recovery. It could be mobility routines to help lengthen short muscles, just walking to get the blood flowing. It might be a massage gun. It might be scheduling a weekly massage or a monthly massage. You can choose your methods that work really well for you, and also knowing what's important. If you don't have tight muscles, you should feel my traps. The reason I love this is because my traps are rock solid. So find the active recovery methods that work and make sense for you. Walking genuinely makes sense for most people, so I almost always say walking is a really great thing to do, especially in this society where it's just so easy to sit. There are also some other methods worth mentioning that don't really fall under any of these categories. It's about blood flow and blood restriction. The reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of people do talk about this. A lot of people talk about this for their recovery methods. So I thought it was worth mentioning. That said, it's important to keep in mind that these methods are not necessarily backed by science to help with recovery directly. So that's just important to keep in consideration, and that's why I don't include this as a necessity for recovery. That said, if it is something that you enjoy and it's something that you think is helping you, I think that is incredible, and I think it's worth mentioning. Let's start with the easier one, and this is about blood flow to the muscles. Blood flow to the muscles is good. So a lot of people use heat as an active recovery method. The ways that you can use heat are through saunas, you can use Epsom salt baths, and you can use the hot tub or a hot shower. All of these things do show that they improve your circulation, they improve your blood flow. That is all solid, right? So that does mean more nutrients are flowing to the muscles, to all of the muscles. But if you don't have your nutrition and if you don't have your sleep, nothing's gonna happen. You know, you're just going into a hot room and you're sweating out more water and getting more dehydrated. So it can help, but only if the rest of your shit is together in your plan. I personally love me a sauna. I just have to be honest when I say that, you know, research doesn't show it has a direct impact, but it has a really strong impact on relaxation and well-being. and it does improve blood flow. Epsom salt baths, people love them because they say the magnesium and sulfates will absorb into the skin. There's really no direct impact that Epsom salt baths will positively impact recovery, but again, I'm a big fan. So all of these things can be really helpful, but would I prioritize them over sleep and nutrition? Absolutely not. Would I prioritize them in a weekly routine for recovery? Yeah, probably, honestly. Now, the huge trending one right now is using cold for recovery, and what cold does is it restricts the blood flow, and that also restricts nutrients. A lot of people will use ice baths, they'll do cold plunges, they'll do cryotherapy. And this is huge in the fitness industry, especially in bodybuilding, powerlifting. Like the intense side of fitness is like really all about these cold plunges. This is seen to be really impactful for mental health and mental wellness. It's seen to boost energy for a few hours after. A lot of gyms have these cold water plunges now, especially in LA. You're seeing a lot of the influencers doing their cold plunges after the gym, and because we want nutrients are trying to rush to your body to, you know, do its thing. And the cold water restricts all of that. And so you can do cold plunges. I would recommend not doing them after your training session, or do it on off days. Don't do it when you're training. There's no need to restrict blood flow after training. That said, I absolutely recommend trying it on off days and seeing how you like it and seeing how it helps you. I personally do really enjoy it for the mental benefits. I don't do it a lot, but I do enjoy it when I do it. I thought those things were also worth mentioning because I know people will look up the cryotherapy and cold plunges and saunas, and it's not that they're not helpful. Cold plunges are not helpful right after training, so do keep that in mind. But as far as whether it positively impacts recovery, kind of up in the air, especially with the cold plunges, but the heat, there is more evidence that that might be something that could be really helpful. So now let's talk about how to create your own recovery plan. The first thing to do is assess your different aspects and categories of recovery. Assess your training program. Are you resting enough between your sessions and your training sessions based on the intensity? Are you getting enough sleep from night to night? If you're not, what can you do to get more sleep? What can you do to try to prioritize it more? Are you eating enough, and are you eating enough of the right balance of foods? And if you're not, what can you do to get yourself more into balance? And what are you doing when you're not training? Are you going for walks? Are you sitting down most of the day? Really be mindful and be honest with yourself about those things, because it's not just your training that has an impact on your life and your quality of life, it is also the recovery. And a lot of people push so hard for the training that they completely neglect the recovery, and the recovery is so crucial because without it you crash and burn, and we want to make sure that that is not what you do here. So in order to create that optimal recovery plan, go through those points and see how well you're doing with each of those. I really hope this video helps you to better understand what recovery looks like and the methods that will best help you to recover from your training, and I will see you in the next video. Stay strong, friends. Bye.